Hello, hello, hello. I don't hear you. Still don't hear you. Unmuted, but I don't hear you. Uh, where are you? Oh, because you're an attendee. Let me promote you to a panelist. I just promoted you to a panelist.
Hello.
Now I can hear you.
Okay. See me too. Do I
Check.
sound, do I sound okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Then that's our sound check. Over and out.
Over now.
And get to home. I'm going to call the meeting to order and call the roll of commissioners in attendance. But before I do, I'd also like to point your attention to a new commissioner who hasn't been sworn in yet, and she just got back from a trip. She's not feeling well, but she made it to our commission meeting. So this is Tina Cole. Cole? Well, our Commissioner Presentario. All right. So Commissioner Cahill,
Here.
Commissioner Elkins,
Here.
Commissioner
Here.
Commissioner Goldberg. Here. Mr. Green. Here. Commissioner Everly.
Here.
Mr. Ryder. Here. Ms. Mackenzie. Here. All right. We're all here. And I am going to, unless there are objections, I'm going to move the Santa Rosa Lab presentation up to which is 8.1 after public announcements, public appearances rather. So because we have no action item for resolution or presentation, seems like a perfect place to put it. Any objection? Fabulous. The only announcement is I'm sure you're all waiting with bated breath. Don't have, Erica, would you like to jump? Talk about
The results, so we will be getting an update tomorrow afternoon, sometime after 3. But it may take days and possibly weeks before we know the final results.
about those adjustments, yes. And we also want to take this opportunity to thank all of the volunteers, a lot of staff, a lot of library supporters who have been working on the campaign. Could have done it without them. Okay, any other announcements? Okay, any public appearances? No? Well then, we're going to roll right into 8.1.
Good evening. Just want to get my. While she's doing that, I'm mute. The shirt that was kind of just like a impromptu project. I called a couple schools in Roseland and said, do you have any artists there that would like to talk about the library with me and maybe design some things? And I got 2. I thought I was only going to get 1. So it's like, oh, shirts have 2 sides. And so a young woman, sophomore from Roseland University Prep, designed this, started with a pencil sketch and ended up colored like this. And it says, let's build a new Roseland library for now and future generations. And the back of the shirt is by Daniela, who's a senior at Roseland Collegiate Prep. Her goal is to be an artist, and she plans to go to the JC next year and study art. And she drew this with a picture of the hand of a child that she babysits for, along with her hand, and passing the book down, and that was her design. Who gets the extra t-shirt?
You can purchase a t-shirt, and then perhaps this will become a fundraiser to help our library. We can sell them all over the city.
All right.
And I'm here to give you your annual report from the Santa Rosa Library Advisory Board. I am the chair of the Santa Rosa Library Board and also the appointed representative. I know it's in the Joint Powers Agreement that says that we will give you an annual report, so here we are. We've scheduled that for this time of year each year. I respectfully am here to give you that report and tell you a little bit about our work. And I want you to know that I joined the lab during COVID in 2021. That was Zoom lab. That's how that worked. And then I became vice chair. And then I've served as the chair ever since Sarah Lagos moved up and now is on your commission in 2022. In 2023, our lab focused on our work on foundational things. We dug into what our purpose was, as stated in the Joint Powers Agreement, and the vision set forth in the Reimagining the Library Plan, which was synthesized from broad community input and identified key concepts for the focus of programs, services, and budgeting. The plan specifically stated a goal to reinvigorate the Library Advisory Board, so we took that seriously. We take those guideposts as our charge, and our members all ask that we create a cover page, like you can see on the slide here, and have that printed and in front of us at every one of our meetings to keep our focus on those goals. Our lab is here to represent the people of Santa Rosa with respect to the library services that they want and they need. Santa Rosa Lab serves 4 library branches, plus the History and Genealogy Library that's downtown Santa Rosa. Our lab works to support multiple branches and works with multiple library managers, which is a complicating factor actually in supporting the lab's operations. The chart on this slide gives you a sense of the population we represent for those libraries. Santa Rosa is the largest municipality in our county, and Santa Rosa's population is equal to all the other cities and towns that have libraries combined. Our small but mighty lab understands this and hopes to consider the diverse and large community we're serving in the work that we do. We have 7 lab members plus 2 youth lab members across and we represent 4 different branches. This snapshot on the slide gives you a glimpse of the territory we cover and just a hint at the expertise that we bring to the table. All 7 of us are active and engaged professionals with deep networks in both the city and the county. Plus, our 2 youth members are leaders on their own campuses and bring valuable insight to our meetings too. They bring expertise to the table, from education and literacy to school leadership, small business, science, law, nonprofit leadership, library programming, music, arts, and secondary education. Lab members are active and engaged in library programs and activities. They volunteer, participate, and promote, and bring feedback and ideas back to our library managers when we meet. But our most active role may be the way we speak up for the library across the city in our civic and professional life. We hear feedback and it helps shape our input on the board itself. In our meetings, we receive reports from our branch managers about what has been happening in each of our branches. We read those reports and celebrate the fantastic work of our creative and resourceful staff. But we use our meeting time to ask what's coming next. What choices are they facing? What problems will the library be trying to solve? How may we function as an advisory board to address those things, using our areas of knowledge and skill and connections to provide feedback? And sometimes we canvass groups in the city based on what the topic entails. For example, several weeks ago, when the city asked for input on design proposals for the Hearn Hub, we asked our lab members to get the word out and garner engagement on the survey. We only had a couple days notice, but I'm certain that we got more responses due to our efforts. In another example, following a tragic fatality on Sebastopol Road several months ago, we assisted in arranging a call with the city staff to request additional safety measures in the traffic lanes near the Roseland Library. Within 2 weeks, the city repainted the lane markings to help make that area safer for traffic and pedestrians. One more example is the Central Library had some issues with not enough bike racks to meet the current needs of patrons. Several lab members researched bike rack types, reached out to the Bicycle Coalition to get their input on adding more bike racks downtown near the library. Those are just a few ways we can use our different networks to provide assistance and help our library branches. This next graphic and quote, Santa Rosa and facing local inequities. Santa Rosa and its environs constitute a disproportionate share of Sonoma County neighborhoods with the lowest levels of well-being in the county. These same neighborhoods in and around Santa Rosa are also both more diverse than other areas of the county and home to larger shares of Latino residents. This graphic and quote are from the 2021 Portrait of Sonoma County. A couple years ago, we studied that as a lab so we could understand what was in there. The library is a key player in bringing more opportunity, more equity, and more hope to those in our community who do not have the same social outlook as those who have more resources and more choices. We keep this top of mind in our work. In addition to talking with people via our own personal networks and daily life circles, we bring leaders in the community to our meetings to get information on issues that directly impact the people in our service area, so we better understand what challenges they face and also what resources outside the library may be addressing those needs too. Bringing these guests to our meetings there also are building our own capacity and knowledge. And we grow our understanding and empathy for different people and challenges in the city. Most of our bi-monthly meetings include a guest to speak for about 20 minutes, and our lab members and library managers are able to ask questions and offer information to them. This year, we focused on the Hearn Hub campaign with the Sonoma County Library Foundation and an update from City Council member Eddie Alvarez. We've also heard from the Executive Director at Council on Aging to learn about their programs and services meeting essential needs for seniors. The Sonoma County Office of Equity, following the adoption of a resolution in March by the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors that racism is a public health crisis in Sonoma County. The chair of the Sonoma County COAD, or Community Organizations Active in Disaster, in relation to emergency preparation by our various public, NGO, and faith-based groups in the area, and most recently by a local leader in early childhood education. With our eyes on the future, we continue to look for ways to leverage our strengths, interests, and connections to be of practical assistance. We offer our perspective and also seek input from the broader community when needed. We're here for the library and we're here for the people of Santa Rosa too.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the commissioner?
Thank you, Pamela. Appreciate that comprehensive overview of the Edgar Santa Rosa Lab. I wanted to point something out, and then I had a couple of questions. When we do this municipality by population size, there's a huge population, of course, in the unincorporated area, 27%. And of course, some of those go to Guerneville, but a lot of them are regular attendees and, these are in municipal areas. So that, like, for example, the Roanoke Park area is also Toddy and Pembroke and all the, unincorporated. So these numbers are interesting, but there is another component there. I don't support that unincorporated people are getting their services.
Yes, I agree, and I also think that our Roseland Library is going to bring people from Moreland and people from outside of the city limits as well. I was trying to show, because I feel the pressure of it, that our lab has a complex task.
Yes.
Because we have 4 very busy, big libraries and communities to serve. And just even administratively, to rotate between 4 library managers to actually draw up an agenda is crazy making for me. Honestly, it just drives me absolutely bananas, especially when those people in those positions change. It's like I have to do it with a different person. So but it's worth it. And I'm willing to do it, but I think I just want people to know that we're working.
Well, that actually, the great segue into my questions, because you do have this very large amount of branches. Do you meet by Zoom?
No, we meet in person. To follow those rules.
I just wondered, is 7 members and are 2 youth your full complement? Percent of the libraries, is that your bylaws or that?
No, our bylaws, we could use more.
And then I just wanted to ask you your thoughts, and you kind of already expressed this as a difficulty trying to pull all these things together. It's an enormous amount. What do you think about having individual labs for individual libraries, or does that make any sense?
Me personally,
Yeah.
I personally reflected on this because I actually have been on other advisory boards for both the city of Santa Rosa, and I regularly attend county ones for my day job. And I also work a lot with public libraries. It's been my ILS grant that I run for the That's a national grant. In my personal honest opinion, I think that there could be site councils at every library, and perhaps for either 2 advisory boards that convene members from those site councils. That's just me, and I haven't actually talked to any of you about this. That's in my personal professional opinion, because I think that would be actually an effective and very important voice that all of you would need to heed every time you make a decision. And they would have to meet every month and address all the things on your agenda.
And then you'd meet collectively as a lab periodically, or?
Now, that would be the library advisory board, and you have site councils that are not Brown Act. That's like a school, schools do that. But that's just a different way to organize it, and that, of course, is not what it says in the joint powers agreement. So we have to follow the joint powers agreement, and that is the way it stands right now. But I just thought for your sake as a board and the administration's sake, that could streamline things, and it could also perhaps provide enough staff to support the work as well.
Thank you.
Yes.
I was looking at the facing local inequities chart, and I wasn't sure what each of the colors meant.
The lighter the color is the lower outcomes. For economic and health outcomes.
So it's economic and health. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
And you guys just did a lot of work for this, and I really appreciate it, and it's inspirational for other labs.
Excellent. Well, I have met with other labs at the All Lab meeting, and I can tell you they're comprised of professional, knowledgeable people who care deeply about the library. And one of the things they all want is to be taken seriously here. And so use them for what they know and what they can do. And we're not just a booster club. We actually are an advisory board for your work.
Other questions? Thanks very much, Pam. And thank you to your lab. All right, then we are going to move into library reports. Do you have anything to add to the director report?
I really don't have a lot to add to my report, other than the fact that we finally surpassed 51% of our county has library cards. And that really was the concerted effort. We had, September was our library card sign-up month. It took a little momentum to get us past that 51%. I do want to give you a little bit of context. Because people think, oh, 51%, that's not very good. No, that's actually amazing. Most libraries have 38%, 35%. I will get the actual data from the state library and bring it to you so that you can see by comparison how well we are doing, that over 51% of our population has the library card. Now, I still think we have some more schools we can work with and we can get more student one cards out there, but we're working on it, but I'm very proud of that.
Any questions? Have we had anybody join from the public? No, all right, so no public comment. Then, do I see hands up questions? No? Okay, thanks very much. And thank you for all the work that you've been doing for the last few months. It's really amazing. Budget and finance reports. Anything to add to the budget and finance reports?
No, I don't have anything to add today.
Would the commission like a fuller report, or does the commission have additional questions? Okay. That's it. Thank you. Perfect. And thank you also for your report. All right, now down to commission and liaison reports. I do not have anything to add to my chair report. Any questions on that? Do any commissioners have anything to add to their reports? Commissioner McKenzie.
just a brief, shout out to Finding History Day on Saturday. The next time I do a report, will be in the holidays, but it was a great success. The library's been the co-sponsor, what's it, 3 years now, I think? And, it was moved over to the Vets Hall on Saturday from Finley, where it was the first 2 years. And it was a huge success and really interesting. And a lot of us were there and networking, and I just wanted to applaud all the library staff who worked on it because it was really a major event. Thank you.
Any other questions? The Finance Committee report. Chair McKenzie.
Yeah, since our CFO didn't speak, I just wanted to make a couple of comments from our Finance Committee meeting. We are keeping an eye on sales tax. Sales tax last accumulation was last month that we received was down. It was down from last year also, and so we are keeping a close eye on it. And our CFOs, we did keep her hawk eye on it, of course. And including the pack, I just want to point out the full we have our Finance Committee meetings. We have some reports every month, but quarterly we have a full supply of all everything you need to know. And so this is and so the reports in here are very interesting and packed with information for those of you who like to look at our finances. And lastly, we did have a very interesting discussion, a lengthy discussion on developing a formula for our unassigned fund balance and how we might apply those on a formulaic basis. We had an initial discussion about it, and that would be for any future quote surpluses or unassigned balances and or the current amount that we have on our books, which is not currently assigned. So conversation will continue about that, but I'm glad we're having that discussion. I thought it was very healthy and a lot of good input on that. Thank you.
Commissioner Bumper.
Barbara, is there anything else you want to share about that discussion, or do you want to wait until you finish more of your discussion? I'm curious what you're coming up with.
Well, rather than, you know, if you look at our reports, there's the report in here. It's on page, let's see, page 29 on here. And just as an example, so this is the sales tax. It shows all the special fund activity. If you go all the way down to the bottom, and you can see the very bottom corner on the far right, 7.763 million, and that's the amount of fund balance after we put it in all the different categories that we're in. We're trying to replace our IT, and we put money aside for major maintenance and all the things we put money aside. That's the amount that we're calling unrestricted fund balance available for budgeting. So there's an equivalent report to this for our other fund, which is our property tax fund, and that's a number to keep an eye on. And so we can either spend it down as things come up, or we could have a formula for allocating it. And that's the discussion that we're currently having. And we're not far enough yet to have a report on it, but appreciate our administrative staff for developing the concept and bringing it to the Finance Committee for further discussion.
And you can listen to the whole conversation just at the Finance Committee meeting.
Yeah, we'll keep it
As well.
well. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Myrna, is there anything you want to add? You're good? Okay, then we'll move on. The Foundation Liaison Report. Okay, I was at the California Library Association, and I'm the Foundation Liaison these days, and so I was not able to attend. But Erica, you were there. Do you want to?
Yeah, so they had their training, their board training in the morning, which I was not present for, but then for the board meeting, we did have a preview of the new Roseland library design, and that was very exciting. So we spent a lot more time on that than we probably should have. But that was really the highlight of the board meeting, was getting to see the designs and talking about them. And there will be another opportunity to do that when the city does their unveiling, their vision unveiling ceremony, which we will send out information on shortly.
Thanks very much. And they were also they were a very strong supporter of the campaign, the Measure W campaign. So when you see Foundation members, do thank them. Any other questions? Okay, then we will move on to the Historic Records Commission. Anything to add to the, okay, nothing? Any questions about the report? Okay. Then we've had over. Then we'll move on to the consent calendar, which is item 9 in the agenda. These matters include routine financial and administrative actions that may be approved by a consensus. Any commission member or member of the public may request that an item be removed from the calendar and have it placed with the action items. The commission will approve the minutes of the prior meeting in summary format. Does anybody have any objections to what's on the consent calendar? Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to move adoption of the consent calendar with a special welcome and thank you to Heather O'Neill from the Healdsburg area for joining the Healdsburg Lab, and Marios Piper, who's joining the Windsor Lab. Thank you to both of them for stepping up and joining the lab, and welcome aboard.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Excellent. All right. Commissioner Cahill,
Yes.
Commissioner Elkin,
Yes.
Commissioner Engbar,
Yes.
Wilbur,
Yes.
Commissioner Green. Yes. Commissioner Heavenridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Lago.
Yes. Sorry.
We don't have my.
Troublemaking down the road. Commissioner McKenzie. Yeah. Commissioner McKenzie? Yes, and you moved. All right. Then I'm gonna call that unanimous. Thank you very much. Actions by motion. 10.1 is the revised workplace violence prevention policy.
Good evening, Commissioners, Chair Doyle and Director Chabot. I am here to prevent the revised workplace violence prevention policy. This policy has not been revised since 2012, and it is being revised today due to statutory regulations. There are minimal changes to the policy, so I don't really. I mean, it's in the packet, but the statutes are basically, nothing's really changed too much with regards to the statutes and the policy. What has changed is that there will be the inclusion of a workplace violence prevention plan.
Okay, that's important.
Yes, and it's very important, and that you will see on page 3 under administrative procedures C, the work under CI or C1. The workplace violence prevention plan outlines the details for training, monitoring, and reporting violations of the policy. That is a very large document that is still under development by Cal OSHA and will not be ready for implementation until early 2025. So that is why it's not being presented here. It will also involve a development of a system-wide team of staff from all branches and departments. And so it is not something that will be brought to the commission for approval, but what will be brought to the commission will be updates on the progress of the plan and how it's working and how the implementations of the training and the like are being helpful in development by the system. So.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
Yes.
Commissioner
Yeah, Suzanne, what's the trend in caseload total for the whole system? Are the caseloads, incidents of violence in the workplace, up, down, steady, whatever?
So the incident reporting that is done by the, we have a tracking system that's done through public services, and that is being maintained through our system, Savannah. And so at this time, I don't have those numbers, but I think that is one of the requirements of the new plan, that we will be required to maintain those numbers, keep a log, and have that ready for, you know, inspection as part of the Cal OSHA plan. One of the other things that we will be required to do is annual training, and that training requires implementation or integration of all of these different elements. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's been something that's taking a lot of development. One of the things that's happening next week is my staff, and including Deputy Director Brad's, is going to a we call it CalPERA, the California Public Employees Labor Relations Association Conference, where they're doing a very large, I don't even know if they're gonna have enough people who will be attending this session on this implementation of the plan. So it's really something that's still under development. But, you know, we will be, like I said, I think we'll be providing, you know, regular updates on you on the progress. And again, it's annual training for staff, and staff they're feeling training fatigue, but, you know, it's important that we keep our staff trained and knowledgeable and on these things, so.
Actually, Commissioner Barth, I think had his hand up.
Oh, I guess I could ask some questions.
Oh,
Did I-
I'm sorry, did you not have your hand up?
No, I don't think so, but,
Can I
I-
go to Commissioner Elkin, because he actually had his hand up? You can think about yours and I'll come back to you.
yeah, no, okay.
Okay?
Sure.
Thanks very much for the update. Policy seems clear, straightforward. Since you will be tracking incidents, can we include that in the director's monthly report, just so we have some light on, because I guess like Commissioner Cahill, I'm wondering how often our staff are subjected to threats or actual violence, and it's really important to us.
Well, so we already do track, but yes, we can include that in the monthly reports. We will have to probably discuss how and what kinds of incidents, you know, we have various levels. Another thing that we will be looking at when this violence prevention policy, we will be looking at our safe use policy and seeing if there's any adjustments that need to be made to that.
Okay, and I would just say from my perspective, I would be very happy with reporting that protected the identity of any of the people involved, but simply gave us a sense of how many incidents of what type.
Sure, I think that monthly is a little bit aggressive. The Cal OSHA is, not requiring us to provide it, but there is some interval. So when we get more information on that, I think we could be, giving you a better understanding. I mean, it is really still like, even we met with our attorneys to review the plan, and thank you, Connie, for providing us with that support. One of the experts in this area was working with us. So it, like I said, as we finalize the details that are coming out in 2025, I'm happy to come up here and give some more report on the recording. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Commissioner Barth.
Sure. A couple of things. One is I've looked at other plans, and some of them have a resource guide for the people that have been either subjected to the violence from an assault or some other form of violence, as far as what's available and getting what we provide and through workers' comp, what might be available through EAP, and what might be available through local sources for assistance, like the victims assistance program at the DA's office. So I'm wondering whether that could be incorporated into the plan at some point.
Sure, and that's one of the reasons why it's so complicated, especially for a facility like ours, is that we have multiple locations. So that's why it will involve staff participation at all of the different locations. We have a safety committee that operates too. So that is like one of our groups that will involve participation from the multiple locations and input from all of the other locations. And so Nicole Lopez, which she's not here tonight, but don't worry, I'll be bringing her in soon. But she is really been instrumental in helping with the creation and facilitation and developing getting the vendor training. That we also, with our vendor training, we will have to utilize this plan to deliver the training. So, like I said, there's more training for staff. We're excited about it. I'm not sure how excited they are about it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Ingvar.
Okay. Yeah, it's a pretty ambitious document that they're putting together. So It
Yes.
should be good when it's completed.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve? Okay. Do I have a second? Excellent. Okay, that's two at the end. Three is over. All right, Commissioner Cahill,
Yes.
Commissioner Elfin,
Yes.
Commissioner Engelbart,
Yes,
Commissioner Goldberg. Yes. Commissioner Green. Yes. Commissioner Evans,
Yes.
Commissioner Lagos.
Yeah.
Commissioner McKenzie. Yes. Excellent, I'll make it unanimous. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have the proposed appropriations transfer policy.
Good evening. Before you is a new policy. I'd just like to preface that currently this policy, what it does, it delegates, the commission would delegate authority to the director and the chief financial officer as that's delineated in the policy to transfer budget authority from within divisions or across divisions. But essentially, it's delegating authority to move funds around, budget authority. Currently, the commission has approved a delegation of authority, but it only covers expenditures. So up to what amount the persons in the delegation of authority policy can authorize their expenditures. So this is the other side is the budget. So on October 21st, the Finance Committee reviewed this proposed policy, and we clarified some information about the approval levels, as well as the committee requested additional language to provide examples of the types of transactions that will be approved and those types that are not allowed in this policy. So the commission adopts the annual budget for the fiscal year by June 30th. And the commission does have authority per government code and the joint powers agreement to amend that originally adopted budget. And it also has the authority to delegate this kind of budget authority to designated staff. So after the budget is approved, there's 12 months ahead of implementing that budget, and things may change. So for example, one of the divisions may want to send additional employees to training. And so therefore they need to increase their training budget to cover those additional costs that were not anticipated. And so the way the policy is written is that that division could reduce another account line and by the same amount. So it's a net zero change to their budget, but it's also zero change, more importantly, to the overall appropriation that the commission has approved. So essentially that covers what is authorized. I have very specific examples of what can be covered. Also wanted to say that the commission still remains with the authority to increase appropriations. So in no way will library staff be able to just increase the spending limits for any division or for any character level. So that is described in the description here. Also, we could go through the policy itself, and the commission also retains the authority to transfer funds from one fund to the other. So government fund accounting is as follows, as you have seen when the budget is presented to the commission. There's a sales property tax fund, which is our general fund, sales tax fund, and also a gifts and donations fund. And we also have a bequest fund where we separate funds for the different purposes of those funds. And so the commission will continue to have the authority to transfer those type funds from monies from one fund to the other. The director will have up to $75,000 authority to transfer funds from one division to another. There have been instances where multiple divisions want to contribute to the purchase of an item or service, and but that purchase is made by one division. So the library director will be able to transfer, let's say, $5,000 from 3 different divisions to, let's say, information technology, so that information technology can purchase that service or software license, for example. The other case is transfers within between accounts. And so accounts, there are examples in your packet that show what accounts are. Accounts are organized under character. So most transfers that will be approved will be under services and supplies, which can include landscaping services, maintenance services, office supplies, training, rents of small equipment, for example. And this policy is asking for authority for the chief financial officer to have authority to transfer up to $25,000 and the director up to $75,000. There is an exception to 2 accounts, which is the library insurance, liability insurance, as well as our capital funds. As you know, capital fund, the capital projects is reported on a quarterly basis to the finance committee and the commission. And if there are any adjustments, those adjustments will remain within the authority of the commission for those modernization projects. And for the library insurance, the reason why it's here is that if there's any changes to something important, such as the library insurance that, why am I saying library? Liability insurance, the commission will be made aware of and would retain the authority to make any changes to that budget. And there will be a quarterly report to the finance committee as to what transactions were approved using the authority of this policy.
And just for the commission's benefit, the finance committee has talked about this several times, and we really appreciate all the work that the staff has done on this. It's really, it's going to make your lives easier also, so we appreciate that. Any questions from anybody who isn't on the finance committee? Yes, Commissioner Goldberg.
I just had a couple questions. So I assume that this is all about just streamlining it, letting the library staff do what they need to do instead of bringing so many things before the commission. Is that basically the purpose? So you can just get work done? Okay, that's what I thought. So 2 questions. One is, does the finance committee have a recommendation on this? And what is it? And the other one is, when staff moves funds around, are you or the director? Let me get it together. So sales tax can only be used for certain things. When you move money from here to there, is somebody making sure that sales tax money is still going where sales tax money needs to go?
So the commission has approved a policy, it's titled, allocation of major revenue sources, which outlines, the expenditure authority for property tax and sales tax. So, yes, we will refer to that policy in terms of allocating any expenditures across property tax and sales tax.
So first. No, we had asked for if we had a recommendation from the finance committee.
And the finance committee, again, had a healthy discussion about this in quite some detail. And we asked a lot of, I think, good questions and asked for a lot of examples. And I think our CFO has given us a lot of good examples here. When you read through these, you can see how useful this could be internally, as you say, for efficiency purposes. And I think the reassuring part too, in case anybody really wants to understand this, we are going to get a really nice detailed report every quarter. And you had mentioned to the finance committee, but it will also come to the commission. So everybody will be able to see what these transfers are and feel comfortable with them, so.
Thanks, Barbara. Just to add one thing to what Barbara said, Eve. To me, the key text here appears on page 101 under existing delegation of authority policy. The library already has in place an authority to move funds within limits for expenses. We've already authorized the director to make the expenses. All we're doing here is allowing the budget adjustments that correspond to those to also be made. So we had a lot of rigorous discussion. We asked for a lot of examples, but ultimately we're just bringing the budget authority in line with what we've already approved from an expense perspective.
Okay.
So the finance committee was very comfortable with this.
Any other questions, comments? Fabulous. Do I have a motion to approve? Mr. Cahill is moving. Fabulous. Mr. Heavenwich is a second. All right. Mr. Cahill, I'm going to take that as a yes.
Yes.
Mr. Elkins.
Yes.
Mr. Engberg.
Yes.
Mr. Goldberg.
Yes.
Mr. Green.
Yes.
Mr. Heavenwich.
Yes.
Mr. Lagos.
Yes.
Mr. McKenzie.
Yes.
All right, I'll make it unanimous. Fabulous. Thank you very much for all. Someday that money is going to be larger, probably. All right, then now we're moving down to 10.3, the fiscal year 2025 first quarter capital budget update.
Hello, I'm always excited to present to you update to the capital projects, our modernizations at our branch libraries. And I would like to say that in this proposal, staff is asking to increase appropriations by $2,342,462 for capital projects that have been authorized in the budget. So just briefly, as a reminder, that it was last fiscal year, the library adopted a new procedure for budgeting for capital projects. So in the past, before this new procedure, the total budget of a project would be appropriated within one fiscal year, even though we knew that the project was planned for cover 2 fiscal years, or we appropriated the full budget and the project ended up being delayed into the next fiscal year. So no funds were being expended, or they were expended there and possibly, just what it would show on our financials is that we have this large appropriation with very little expenditures or activity. So to bring transparency to our modernization projects, and to increase reporting to the Finance Committee and the Commission. The following procedure was adopted that on a quarterly basis, well, let me back up a little bit, that as of July 1, 1/3 of the capital budget would be released, and subsequently on a quarterly basis, staff would provide updates to those projects in physical activity, but also budget-wise, and justify releasing the additional budget. And so this is the second year that we've implemented this, and this is the first quarter for this fiscal year to provide this report. And so the total budget for fiscal year 24-25 for our modernization projects and other capital projects was $6.5 million, and 1/3 of that has been released. I, as the Chief Financial Officer, have met and discussed with our facilities manager and our information technology manager about the status and the need for releasing additional funds in order to complete the projects that were approved. So under Facilities Division, there is an addition, staff is requesting to release an additional $853,469 to cover expenses through January 31st, 2025. In other Finance Committee meetings, we have given updates on the Petaluma project and had identified a shortfall in that project because the budget that was approved several years ago with the RFP and the contract was not let out until several years later. And during that time, prices, costs for materials and labor increased. And so therefore, funding for all that needs to be done, there's a shortfall. The library has been holding meetings with the city of Petaluma to discuss the scope of work. There is some scope of work that the city received grant funds for that they will be reimbursing the library. So there will be an update on those finances and funds that we can recover from the city, and then have an updated projected shortfall for the Petaluma modernization project. Under the Healdsburg project, it's on track and to be completed by spring of 2025. And therefore, the staff is requesting to release an additional $1,055,321, which would be 100% of the approved project. It is moving very smoothly, and it would help to have the funds available. There was also a funding gap reported to the Finance Committee on September 20th, and of about $972,000. And again, it's the same situation as Petaluma, that we had a budget and the project had been delayed, and when the RFP was let out and a contract was received, all the bids were higher than our budget. So again, the library will come back to the Finance Committee in December to give an update on the Healdsburg project. Under rebudget, the commission, the commission approved $90,500 for the Windsor Mini Branch Modernization Project last fiscal year. And staff is asking to roll over those funds because the project didn't start until this fiscal year. There was no work done last fiscal year. In addition, staff is requesting $200,000 to install seismically safe shelving, which adds scope to the project. So a total of $290,500 is requested to be released at this time. An update regarding the Bibliobus. The commission approved a purchase of a second Bibliobus last fiscal year. And staff is currently evaluating the condition of the current Bibliobus and options for that program. And the staff will return to the finance committee with an update and recommendation for the Bibliobus fleet. Under information technology, IT projects are on track. Staff is requesting the release of $143,172 through January 31st, 2025. This covers laptops and anytime kiosks, self-checkout upgrades, and book lockers at various locations. And both the facilities manager, Dave Shiva, and IT manager, Mike Dahl, are here to answer any questions on these projects.
Thanks very much. Again, the finance committee has talked about this before as well, and the combination of post-COVID supply chain problems and inflation and delayed projects has created some of the need for the funding, but we want these projects to be done and done well. Any questions? Do I have a motion? Oh, and do I have a motion?
I so moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second. Or second. Oh, okay.
I think he was the second. I saw her hand as the second. Additional discussion, sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. These are our first two major modernization projects. We've been talking about these for several years. And these are our first two major ones. And I just think it's important to point out that these are major shortfalls that we're finding, again, because of delays. But Petaluma, which we've talked about being fully funded, that shortfall something like $1.4 million, and Healdsburg almost $1 million. So these are major amounts of money. I appreciate the staff effort and working with the JPA partners, possibly with the Friends, whatever other source of funding, maybe to, help chip away at a little bit. But I just want everyone, I think people should really be aware of the large costs and the kind of predictability of how much these things cost. All these modernization projects are going to be significant. So thank you for all your work on this. Well explained, and thank you.
Significant and needed. Yes.
I just want to point out, when we did our facilities master plan, Group 4 did actually put in escalators for those projects. So that's something that I don't believe we did with these two. One question we'll have to ask is did they add in enough for future projects? And we'll have to revisit that.
Did I ask for public comment? I know we haven't had anybody join us, but we do have a couple members of the public here. We're tired. All right, no questions. There we go.
Then let's see if we have a motion, then I'm going to ask for the vote. Mr. Kano.
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Mr. Ingram.
Yes.
Mr. Goldberg.
Yes.
Mr. Green.
Yes.
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 Thank you, Mackenzie.
Yes.
Keep right the hour. All right. So then the next item in your packet is a list of requested future agenda items for library commission meetings. Date one. So,
And so we have pulled this together, and tried to indicate when things that came on in the commission discussion were addressed, or the things that have not been addressed thus far. So I am willing to open it for discussion. Does somebody have any? Commissioner Kagan?
Yeah, I'm really glad to see this. Some things just kind of fall by the wayside, and it's important that we deal with this stuff completely. So I'd like to see the list.
And some of these things, as we were looking at the list, we decided that we were going to divide it really into things that the commission needs to discuss, but also need staff input and also need information probably from the staff, and then things that the staff can just take care of. But that doesn't mean that the report shouldn't and can't be made. So does anyone else have other burning? Commissioner McKenzie?
Yeah, I would say on the facilities capital improvement plan, it says it's complete. I would say it's in progress and appreciate the work that's been done, but we've got as far as I'm concerned, more work to do on that. It's definitely making progress, and it is going to come back to us on a quarterly basis. And then also I have requested once, if not twice, a comparison of leases to look at the responsibility of the JPA partners and the libraries, financially, who's responsible for what, and I haven't seen that, and it kind of fell off the list, and I can either put it back on, or I can request it at the end of the.
I've given you updates annually in April. So there's no changes since the last time I gave you an update in April.
Was it that like whether we had leases or not? It doesn't show like which, somebody pay the first $5,000, somebody has to pay for this, somebody after that. That's why I'm interested in the comparison, the financial responsibilities of the JPA partners.
The results are unchanged. It's the same as it was before. So all the leases, the only difference is the new leases have a $5,000 for capital, for major repairs. The library will pay up to $5,000. The older leases do not have that $5,000 language. It's unchanged since April. Nothing has changed since the last update I gave you.
But they're not still not consistent. We still don't have Santa Rosa leases like other.
That's correct.
Yeah. So would we expect an update next? Spring before?
Yes, yes.
Oh.
Other questions? Problems with the list? What we also thought we might suggest is we would have the items that are open, that are probably appropriate for commission conversations on the agenda. So that when we've got some time, we may not be looking at that at the next agenda item if the clock looks like it's 9:30 and we want to go home. We can continue to have the old items on the list. We don't really have old items on our agenda. So that's certainly a possibility. We can try it and see if it works. Yeah.
What are things like the JPA review committee that we decided we're going to have? And the just at the last meeting, we had a conversation about reviewing the attorney's contract or whatever. I mean, those are kind of separate items, but they're kind of carried forward in the same kind of way. Should they be on here, or?
So they're actually not on the list, and I think that the JPA review is something we're going to be talking about a little later, like in the meeting. I think some of the conversations are going to depend on whether Measure W passes, frankly. But I think something like that, just because I knew that I was going to bring it up in the meeting as an action, not as an action item, but as something that we'll move forward with. I don't think it was ever on the list, actually. The JPA review.
It is on the list. Well, it's actually on the list under Library Commission tasks. It says discussion of the JPA, complete discussion held, action item on 410, committee to be appointed after November 2024 election.
There we go. So we're gonna talk about that. And other tasks.
The attorney review, though, we talked about that we passed it, we renewed the contract, but we said you should look at how well it's performing. Remember this conversation we had?
We can add it.
We forgot that one. Thank you. Thank you for pointing it out. And he's perfectly happy to have that conversation, so. All right. Anything else? Okay, well, I should have come up with the list a long time ago, so apologies for that, but it was a good exercise to go through it. Thank you. And now we are going to go into a closed session, which is a conference with our labor negotiator.
So Myrna is going to stay. No, we're gonna stay.
We're saying.
We're gonna.
Thank you.
Yes. It's that. Yeah. So. Yeah.
All right, item 13, we're gonna reconvene our open session. There was no action taken in the closed session. And item 14, excuse me. Agenda items for a future commission meeting. So. An important thing for all of us is the JPA review. Excuse me, and so I've actually asked Sarah Lagos to be the chair of the task force, the JPA task force review. So those who are interested in participating in that, and we're probably going to have a couple of other task force. One is the looking at the projects as they move forward. But it would be nice to see whether the ballot measure passed before we officially proceed with that. So if we may learn tomorrow, and I can certainly make the appointments before the next commission meeting. So let me know if you're interested in those sorts of, in either the JPA review or the projects. And then I also think that we should probably have an advocacy task force. We used to have an advocacy committee, and I think because we were marching toward a renewal, we didn't want to make the staff feel uncomfortable talking about it, and we didn't want to make the commission feel uncomfortable talking about a measure, because that was where a lot of our attention was focused. So we disbanded that committee. But now that we've actually had a measure and it might be successful, this might be the time to revive that, because it's going to be very important for us to know our legislators at all levels as we move forward, to make sure that they know what we're doing and to make sure we know what they're doing. And some other task force. The legal review, that's right. So if you have an interest in reviewing our agreement with our attorneys, let me know about that as well.
Yeah, just quickly, are all of these going to be task forces rather than standing committees, including the capital project?
I think that it's important for it to be a task force first, and then if the task force thinks that it needs to be a committee, and if the renewal happens, then we might be doing more projects, and so we can create a committee. But I think it would be good for at least the task force to think about what the goals of that kind of group is going to be.
So there's 4, and the process is to request position from through. Okay, thank you.
Anything else for future commission meetings? All right, seeing none, then we will adjourn and see each other on December 4th. Happy Thanksgiving to all. And I hesitate to say enjoy Veterans Day, but celebrate it as you do. Thank you so much, everybody.